Welcome back to the channel. I'm Saint, your hidden assistant, a former Marine, talking to you about all the things an older brother should. I know we got a lot of fragrance content on my channel, but as passionate as I am about fragrances, there is something else that I'm actually even more passionate about, and that is my $30,000 watch collection. Let's hop straight into it. So we'll go by chronological order here. I don't know when it started. I've always liked watches. My first watch was this like Tommy Hilfiger watch. It was made out of plastic. Never buy designer brand watches, ever, with the exception of Cartier. But my parents got it for me. There was some kid who like shat on that watch. Typical rich kid. I don't think he meant it at the time. You know, sometimes kids, you can be a little ruthless, but he made fun of the watch. Definitely irked me a certain way, but I don't know if that's why I was like, I'm gonna learn about watches. But the second watch I ever had, I've had this since my senior year in high school. It has been over a decade. I've never swapped out the battery. This is a Casio. This was given to me by a church counselor. It was a little graduation gift to the entire senior class of our church. I still wear this sometimes. Casio is S tier. S tier level watches. Cannot go wrong with a Casio, and despite me having all the watches that I do have, this still has a special place in my heart. The military has a lot of G-Shocks. I think no matter how rich or wealthy you get, like the G-Shock will be a staple in anyone's watch collection. The military uses G-Shocks all the time, super durable, like any color you want, G-Shock will probably have it. It's a working man's watch, but it's also very stylish. Nico Leonard, huge watch creator, Casio. But I gotta agree with him. I do gotta agree with him. Casio, S tier. I think every single guy should have a G-Shock in their collection. The next watch. This is a Orient Mako. This watch does not have the original band because I broke it. I broke it in Russia because I ate shit. And I fell on it, and the way my wrist was angled, it actually snapped the band. This was the first watch I bought after doing that research. At the time, these watches were under 100 bucks. Now they're about 200, which is now the new, inflation. I don't know what to tell you. You still have options under $100. There are some good Casio divers. I believe there's a watch brand called Vostok. I think it's a Russian brand. And then of course you have some solid Citizens out there that are under $100. If you're looking for a watch brand that is just a solid starter, check out Orient. It's a subsidiary of Seiko. I love watches that are functional and actually have a purpose. It's not just looks. This is a dive watch. It's got a day and the date. I was looking for, I was in the military. I want like a working man's watch or a utilitarian watch, a watch that I could swim with. I don't have to worry about where the scenario is necessarily that I'm taking it. But I also wanted something that was versatile. I wasn't balling. I could only have one watch to cover all the situations. So that was why I ended up getting the Orient Mako. The next one, this is a Orient Bambino. I got this because again, I was looking for best watches under $100. There were times in the military where we kind of had to dress up, blend in, wear a suit or a tuxedo, and I wanted to look professional, and perception is reality. You do, sometimes you do need to look a certain part or a certain way. I would say best entry-level dress watch for people that maybe don't want to commit to spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a watch, but want something that is still quality. I would say the Orient Bambino is a phenomenal option. It comes in many different colorways. If you can't tell, I kind of like blue. At this price point, it's hard to get as many features as you get with the Orient Bambino. It's got a domed crystal, solid movement inside. It's got the date, and it's just a very clean, classy watch. The next watch, this is my Tissot Seastar. I bought this one while I was out overseas in Russia. Again, the blue face, I love it, and I love how the color changes depending on how the light hits this watch. I did a lot of research by the time I got this watch. This is a Tissot Seastar Powermatic 80, which means at full charge of the battery, it will run for 80 hours, meaning you could theoretically put it down Friday and pick it back up on Monday. It'll still be running. This was the first watch where I was like, okay, I'm gonna put down some money. And at the time, $800 for a watch was obscene. I was still in the Marines, I wasn't making a ton of money, so dropping that much on a watch was a lot of money for me. But I do think that for someone that thinks that Rolexes are unobtainable at their current situation, that yes, this is a phenomenal dive watch. I just think it looks so clean. The bezel clicks really nicely. So you would set this to, when you go diving, you have a finite amount of oxygen in your tank. So you set this to whatever minute that you are going diving on. And as the time goes on, it kind of shows how many minutes have passed. The reason why it only rotates in one direction, see if I'm trying to push it the other way, it's not gonna go. The reason why is because worst case scenario, if this moves as it is right now, is you come up earlier than your air supply would allow, as opposed to if it got knocked in the other direction and you didn't know, then you won't realize that you're out of air if this gets knocked the other way. One of the reasons why I like analog watches was because I was working in some sensitive areas. You can have a smartwatch, but then once you enter certain areas, you got to take that thing off, and I don't want to deal with taking on my watch on and off. So after I got out of the Marines, I came back home. My parents don't care too much about watches, quite frankly, right? So that was why I got a Tommy Hilfiger watch. My uncle, on the other hand, loves watches. 2 of the watches in my collection are from him. This first one I did not wear because it didn't fit. This watch is a Zeppelin, but yeah, truthfully, I didn't know too much about the brand, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't the biggest fan of its looks. However, I was not gonna tell my uncle that, and also I was just really grateful to have this watch. So for this is more a sentimental piece that just kind of stays with me. I will probably, even though I don't wear this watch, I will never give it away. I think if you're into the vintage look into Zeppelin. This is a Hamilton King Khaki Scuba. This watch was also a gift from my uncle. He asked me what kind of watches I like. I told him I like the Submariner look. I like my Tissot Seastar. I love that. I like dive watches, I do. This is something he already owned. This is actually probably the most worn out of them, but again, another watch that I don't wear as much anymore due to my collection growing, but one of my more sentimental pieces for sure. This will stay with me. Phenomenal watch, a little heavy for some, little heavier than some might like. This has the open back on there. Same with my Tissot Seastar too. The Hamilton line, I would say if you really like field watches, there's a lot of solid watches in the Hamilton line that you would like. This has both the date and the day. I think it's just a very classy, versatile working man's watch. You could definitely beat the hell out of this thing and it'll still be fine. Style-wise, it is not my favorite, but I wore this for years before buying another watch. If you like field watches or the field watch look, might be for you. Next, this is an interesting one. I'll show you guys the characteristics about this first. This is from a brand called Presidius. This has the leather strap, kind of has some engravings in there, or it's like stamped in. I do like what Presidius is doing. The only reason why I don't have their watches or buy any of their watches, I don't think they look very good. I think you guys can kind of see the kind of style I like. If you like field watches, again, you will love Presidius. I really like what they're doing, how they're integrating history into every single one of their pieces, like Sands of Iwo Jima, but just the overall look of field watches, it's just not me. I don't know what it is. I could not tell you, but it's just not me. But I do like the brand itself. This is not to knock on their quality, the build, or anything that goes into the brand itself. If you guys can see, there's a bullet on there. But this was, I believe they collaborated with one of the last remaining World War II veterans that are still alive right now, Vince Speranza. He was a machine gunner during the World War. They worked with him to create this watch. That's why I keep this. I support the brand, even though I enlisted. I can't imagine being 18, enlisting in the military during a time like that. I think it's hard to understand. So I like how Presidius kind of incorporates bits of our military's history into their watch pieces. Like they have sands from Iwo Jima and like different sands from different locations of the World War, and they have it inside the watch, which I think is really, really cool. Go check Presidius out. The next watch, this is probably one of the most sentimental watches. I cried when I got this. I'm not even gonna lie, I teared up. This was a surprise present from my friends a few years ago, and I'm not gonna lie, I grew up not having a lot of friends. Like I remember as a kid, my closest friends always were people that called me weird every day and made me cry. Like, wasn't the strongest kid growing up emotionally, mentally, physically. However, kind of grew up a loner. This watch was a gift from a lot of my friends a few years ago. I never thought I'd be somebody that had friends that would care enough to spend that kind of money on me, let alone surprise me with a gift at all. This is a Tissot Gentleman Powermatic 80. This particular Tissot Gentleman, there's a few variations. This is one of the more expensive ones. You can get a Tissot Gentleman, I think for like $400 for the quartz movement, I believe. And then the Tissot Gentleman, which Powermatic 80, that jumps up to $800. It lives up to the name, Tissot Gentleman. This was about, I believe, $1,500. Like, I never took this off for a while. Out of all the watches I have, this is one of my most sentimental. I really felt like, man, like I'm loved, you know, and that wasn't something I felt for a lot of my life. It was a really enlightening moment that like I have people that really care about me. Shout out to my friend Angela, who was the one that set up, that got everyone to chip in and did not just go for like a basic watch, but like she went above and beyond to make sure that she got this particular variation because she didn't want me to have just the normal level, so to speak. I will still pull this out every so often and wear it just because it's just a reminder that I'm blessed to have amazing friends that do love and care about me. Thank you guys. All right, now we're getting into the watches that honestly, for the majority of my life, I never would be able to afford. So, and I'm telling y'all, like, I'm the most average person. So trust me, if you think expensive watches are cool and you want to have one day, you can get it. This is a two-door Black Bay GMT. This is a Pepsi, as you can tell from the blue and the red variation. This watch, I never, ever in my dreams thought I'd be able to afford a two-door or a Rolex. So it was a really big moment for me when I bought this watch. I never thought I'd be in a position where I'd be spending thousands on a watch. $4,500. So two-door is a subsidiary of Rolex. There's a lot of history with two-door and the military. So that was kind of something that drew me more towards it. And I would rather have a, you know, higher end two-door than like the bottom of the barrel vintage Rolex. So that's why I went with a two-door Black Bay GMT. They do look a lot like a Rolex, but the hands, it has a little bit more robust of a feel. The hands are much easier to read. Now, second to last watch. This is my Rolex GMT Master II 2024. This is the Bruce Wayne. So there's a few Rolexes that are super well known, especially the GMTs. This one's $20,000. This is almost a car on my watch. It was scary pulling the trigger on this thing. I was like, am I really about to spend that much money on a watch? But I do invest a good portion of my money and I never took profit. Investing is great, but if you never take profit, then you're not really profiting. I decided to take some of that money out, put into other investments, and then I treated myself. The reason why I went with the Bruce Wayne. My friend Avi, when we were in Dubai, you guys might know him as the Real Cologne Boy. He bought a Batgirl, okay? And the Batgirl and the Batman were a watch that I had my eyes on for quite some time, but I am not about to drop tens of thousands of dollars on a watch that I just saw someone else get. Bruce Wayne's the newest one, and I like that it is more subtle. I went with something a little bit more low-key. It's like, okay, I'm gonna be proud of myself, and I'm going to allow myself to still rock a Rolex, but I don't wanna draw too much attention to myself, which is why I got the Bruce Wayne. I like the black and the gray. If you buy this from an AD, it's right around $10,000 or $11,000, but I knew if I walked into a Rolex authorized dealer and I asked for a Bruce Wayne, they're gonna laugh me out the store. That's not how the watch world works, unfortunately. So a lot of times with highly sought after watches, you will have to go to the secondary market. So that marks up the price a lot. I think in 2024, this was one of the most sought after watches. It's a GMT, meaning it tells time in more than one time zone. So if you guys notice, there's the normal, you know, hands for the watch, and then there's also the GMT hand, and that goes by 24 hours. All my GMTs are set to my girlfriend's time. And then to tell the time in a third time zone, you just move this bezel to the appropriate time zone. And that's why there's usually two color waves on the GMT. It's kind of representing the nighttime and the daytime. This is what I wear anytime I'm going out, networking, business, whatever. There is the Batman, which is black and blue. Then there is the Sprite, which is green and black. And then there's the Root Beer, which is typically gold. And then it's got brown and black, I believe. There's a Coke, which is black and red. And then there is the Pepsi. I think those are all the main ones. Let me know which one I missed, but those are the main GMT Master IIs from Rolex that are very widely recognizable. Even though my parents aren't into watches, the goal is to, I'm gonna buy them Rolexes one day. That's the goal. Now, last but definitely not least, believe it or not, despite that, the next watch was the hardest for me to get out of all of them. And that is my Sangen Instruments Professional, the one I'm wearing right now. I'm pretty proud of this one too. If you look at my bank account statement when I bought this, it looked like I was trying to marry a stripper. Like, I had just spent a ton of money. I just visited my girl in New York. But the thing is that Sangen Instruments is almost always sold out. Actually, I think I still have, yeah, the case right here. I like the case that it comes in. So it comes in this little pelican looking case looking thing. It comes with a rubber strap as well. So Sangen is one of those watch brands that it's not as popular as the watches that I've mentioned here already, but it is one of those, if you know, you know. I'm proud of this watch because it ties me to a community community that I'm probably the most proud of. This whole thing, the bezel itself also glows in the dark. It's a nice light blue color. Really, really sick. Dive watch and a GMT. I feel like after I got out of the military, I lost my edge. I kind of wanted to start training up again. MMA, jiu-jitsu, firearms. I wanted to get back to my roots, so to speak. The significance of Sangin. So to the everyday person, they probably don't know what that is, but Sangin is a location, actually. It is Sangin, Afghanistan. But Sangin Instruments is founded by a Marine Raider. The Navy has Navy SEALs, Marines have Raiders. I think one thing that separates us as Marines from other branches is our warrior ethos, our pride. They make sure to instill that there is a giant shoe that you need to try and fill. They tell you about the history of the Marine Corps. We take pride in having the least amount of gear, but doing the most with it. In Sangin, we took, I believe, one of the highest, if not the highest, amount of casualties in that location. 3-5, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, Dark Horse. Actually, that's where two of my brothers are from. It is a fairly significant piece of history, and that's why it's a well-known location within the Marine Corps. But that's why this watch is something I'm super proud of, and it was also one of the hardest to get. I'm super stoked that I finally have one. I went with a professional. I wanted a watch that, you know, as I go out and about, go to the range, I'm not gonna wear my Rolex GMT Master II. I'm not wearing my Bruce Wayne. This is my zombie apocalypse. It hits the fan watch. It is a double-coated sapphire. Like, I could beat the hell out of this watch. It is one of the only watches in my collection that is a quartz battery movement. It's a Swiss quartz battery movement, and it's one of the most low maintenance and reliable movements in there, and that's what I wanted for this particular watch. This one was about $670. They really care about the quality and the customer feedback there, and their customer feedback they take very seriously because they know the community that they're serving. That is my $30,000 watch collection. It sounds super weird saying that out loud. I never thought in a million years I'd be here, let alone be in a position where I actually can create content full time. So that's only possible because of you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm curious, what is y'all's first watch and why? I want to know. As always, thank you for your support, and I'll see you guys on the next one.